It is very, very, very wet on slick tyres. I say very wet, it's not actually that wet. But we've just had a few mad dashes of laps from many, many drivers to try and get something done in qualifying here, as it's incredibly slippery. This is exactly what we had in the F1 tier for the Dutch Grand Prix, and someone managed to get pole position there. Tom, that was where you started on the front row. In this kind of condition, just what do you have to do to get that pole time?
Yeah, if you know it starts raining pretty soon, you just have to apply your setup as quick as you can do after you saw that the rain will start. And just immediately head out and try to drive a rather quick outlap. Many drivers prefer more slower outlap. But for example, I'm doing always a quite fast outlap to simulate the race conditions, and that is what you need. And here, Frantic, for example, which we unfortunately didn't see on stream, started his lap while the rain already started. So it was quite a difficult lap time, seeing it with its time, I think 3 seconds of yesterday's pole time. And so you just can see how the rain affects it. And also the gaps afterwards. You just want to be the first driver to start your lap and actually complete it. It's more of trying to focus that you stay on the track, trying to avoid track limits, and try to finish the lap and not go 110% pushing, like rather 90%. And you've got a great chance for the top 2 rows if you just be the first driver out on track, maybe with a bit of a gap, and then just try to survive it in the rain.
Indeed. Now, looking at the grid, Frantic has taken pole position, and I very much doubt that is going to be contested unless in 11 minutes' time we end up seeing the track drying up, which would be pretty crazy. Verf is P2. I just want to actually say that we've got a few people out on the intermediate tyre, so they're expecting to try and they're trying to get some experience on this intermediate tyre. Maybe a bit further down the order, a few drivers are going to try and get a better lap time, and that would be Terence Rowe Winter, Bread is Cool, and maybe Yoko Willis, but I think more really they're just looking to try and get some information on the circuit. I have been told that it is going to be a full dry race, however, so this information probably wouldn't be that useful to the Grand Prix that we're going to have today. The Williams is the first car out on track on this intermediate compound, and we'll see what lap time they can do. But with 10 minutes on the clock, it is going to be a long old qualifying session for Frantic, as they've retired pretty early, but they thought they didn't really need to worry about that too much. They had a race distance yesterday experience, which was great to see, and they had pretty good pace as well. They had pretty good pace on time trial, now starting on pole position by a hell of a margin. Setting that early lap, it's given them the best chance of continuing with that championship lead. They did lose out to Simaxon, who managed to win the USA Grand Prix for the EU drivers and get a lovely chunk of points, catching back up a little bit. Yoko Willis, they're trying their best to try and do everything they can. They also got a distance of racing with them yesterday, so did Simaxon. So we'll see how that one goes. But so far, Frantic is on pole, and we're just going to watch these guys go out in the intermediate conditions.
Yeah, looking at the pace from yesterday, Simaxon and Frantic, probably looking to win the race, at least for the drivers in this tier. Both looking really quick. Frantic just had the bit of a mis-strategy call, and then Simaxon was just really quick also on all tires, resulting in him being caught, I think, tire got from someone yesterday. So it's really interesting to see how that will play out. I also expect Jericho and Verf to have somewhat good pace. Maybe Terence will have a good race again. And then for the higher tier drivers on Peanuts and Charlie, I mean, if they manage to get through the grid quite quickly, they have the chance to win it on track. Obviously, the other drivers will be promoted, but it's just a bit of prestige you can get with a win, even though you're a higher tier driver.
Yeah, they definitely don't have it easy though. They're starting at the back of the pack, so they won't have the best time, of course, but they are going to be very quick regardless. Charlie, being the higher tier driver, getting wins last season in F1.5 as well, almost winning the race yesterday in the F1 tier. Whether that will change, I don't quite know. But Peanuts, who has had some pretty good races here in the past, they were very competitive in the F1 race the season before, and they also managed to, last season, fight for the title in the very last race as well here at Brazil in full wet conditions. I think it was full wet. I think there maybe was some inters towards the end. But yeah, let's see if their experience in that can come back in. I don't know if it really would come in because it's such a different game and the grip is so different, especially in the wet conditions. But yeah, we'll find out and how that's going to go. Many people out on track. Rare Winter is going to be looking to try and actually set an improvement lap time if they can, as they actually have done so, it says on the Delta. Whether that's actually true or not, we'll find out, but we'll go through the first sector. We'll go down the straight, which will not be a DRS straight in these wet conditions. That would have been something that would have affected the lap time, definitely. They are quite far down on their previous lap time, so I think unfortunately that will be qualifying done for the Racing Bull. We've got 2 Racing Bulls on the grid. We've got 2 Red Bulls on the grid, and that is it for the double teammates. Other than that, it is all just singular drivers. So the Red Bull team and the Racing Bull teams have the potential to score some very good points for that constructors. It is very close between. Actually, I say it's very close. I think, yeah. No, Frantic is leading the way by 1 point ahead of Red Bull in the constructors. Also having a few points being scored by Creamy earlier on in the season, but Red Bull are very close behind and ready to go for sure. Rare Winter slows down as the 2 Red Bulls are going pretty quick.
Yeah, looking at the times right now, the only drivers who have a chance to improve are Terrence and Rare Winter. All the others are just way down on their delta with the tires. As I had a somewhat clean lap on the softs. Yeah, and then obviously Chocolade, who is not driving for some reason. He could at least get in front of both higher tier drivers and Jakub, who unfortunately crashed early on. So yeah, Terrence, Ravint, and Chocolade being the only 3 drivers with a chance at improvement, but probably still starting 7, 8, and probably 9.
Yeah, so the circuit gets wetter and wetter as time goes on, so it's only going to get slower at this point. I would assume we've only got a few minutes left of this session now, 4.5 minutes, but we're still getting a bit of a show in the wet conditions from all the drivers as they're locking the rears, turning in the car. Still getting out the corner, however. Chocolade is not participating in the qualifying session, at least to begin with. They might be able to get out on track in the final minute or so, and as you said, Tom, that would be quite beneficial for their starting position in the race. They would be able to get into P9 ahead of the Ferrari car and ahead of the 2 higher tier drivers, but we'll see how that one goes. That was no improvement there from Barry in the end. So Maxon is coming through the next few corners, but it is looking like they are pretty down on their delta. We'll see what lap time they set, as we have actually seen Terrence, I believe maybe not Terrence, we have seen Rare Winter just improve recently as they go down the straight to Maxon and we go into the pit lane. So they've absolutely ruined it. I don't know what to say. Completely unbelievable. Alright, that is Jericho Willis also going pretty quick. They have got the car of Barry Kruger right behind them. putting on the pressure. Maybe these guys are trying to do some race lap simulations. That's definitely what Jericho is looking to do, it seems like. 5-lap-old intermediate tyres. We do know that wet condition tyres can last a little bit longer than slicks, so you can set multiple laps. It's still going to be faster if you just set one lap with minimal fuel, especially 5-lap-old intermediate tyres are going to be a lot slower than any other age of tyre it's set from if it's higher. As that is Jericho Willis into the pit lane. It will be Barry Kruger going across the line. That is going to be a 17.731. Terence improves again. Now, that is a car on the pit lane exit. Unfortunately, Brothers Gore has made a mistake trying to hold on ahead of Terence by pushing the limits. They have managed to get back the right way around, but that will probably be their qualifying finish. Just that well, actually, is there damage on that car? I mean, they were facing the barrier, but there is damage on the left or right hand side end plate, left hand side of our screen when we were looking at it. So that will be their qualifying session. If Terence can find a bit more time, they may be able to get ahead of the Racing Bull, but as the tyre gets slightly older, I don't think anything will really change. Rare Winters into the pit lane. If they come out again now, they might have a chance at going for one more run to improve a little bit further, but we'll see. Chocolate is going through. I want to actually apologise if I've pronounced that wrong. They are going once again to try and set a P9 lap time.
Yeah, I mean, we can see he's struggling a lot with the rain. But as long as he gets one clean lap in, he will gain the 3 positions. So for him, he can go nearly as slow as he wants. The main point is just for him to stay in between the white lines, and that would already be beneficial for him.
Indeed. Indeed it will. Now, Terence is looking to try and improve. They've got a little bit more to try and find. Obviously, they're not going to be starting P9, but it's going to be difficult for them to improve as the circuit is really quite a lot wetter than it was earlier on. Brothers Cool managing to set that 15.041. Terence has got a long way to go and has made a pretty big mistake, unfortunately. They might be able to go again, but they're going to end up setting that lap on 5-lap-old intermediate tyres, which is going to be super, super difficult. Hello in the chat. Good to see you again, Pink. Now, Terence, he's got one final attempt at making this work. Is it going to be possible? It is crunch time, unless they go into the pit lane because they'll be running out of fuel. That looks like it's going to be the situation. And unfortunately, that'll be it there for the Aston Martin. We're going to go to Chocolate quickly as they continue. But a big, big oversteering moment. They've kept it in a straight line. They just need to set a valid lap here.
Yeah, also in the first sector already being 3 tenths down, 2 Terrence, 10ths down to a Rare Winter. So it seems like he won't have a chance to get both of them, and just tries to have the lap time done. Not a real chance, like he's drifting a lot, and that's him in the wall.
And
but it
if
looks
they can
like he can drive.
Yeah, if they can get it spun around again, then they would be able to complete the lap, but they've retired and they'll start last anyway. That's a bit of a shame, but that is qualifying done. 3 positions gone, but oh well. We will be going to start the race looking for dry conditions. We're just going to get the results up on the screen, and then we will head on over. Frantic takes pole position, Verf in P2, then we've got Simax on. That's the rest of the grid, and then we will look at the race director just in case. That is that. We'll be back for the race. We'll see you in a bit. Ready? Hold! Go! Who's going to get it into turn 1? Frantic on the outside line, and it is raining! It is raining! At the start of this race, we're starting on the intermediate conditions. Frantic's got a perfect start side by side, however, with Verf and Samaxon. They fought in Singapore, they fight in Sao Paulo. Samaxon once again is ahead. A brilliant start there. Barry Kruger, will they be able to also follow their teammate further up the field? They will not be able to do so. We're going to get Jericho Willis sending it to the inside line, but they will not have the opportunity. We've got that's actually Peanuts, as Terence has had a very difficult start right now. Peanuts is already in the battle with the two Racing Bulls as they have a bit of pressure. Peanuts sends it to the inside line, is going to try and make it work, and I think he's managed to do it. Still the inside line for the other Racing Bull, but no, they just have to back off for now. That is a brilliant start there for Frantic, but unfortunately Terence has had an issue.
Yeah, Terence looking like spinning or making a small contact at the first turn. So really unfortunate for him, but maybe with the rain and the other cars in front fighting, he might have a chance to catch up and close the gap really fast.
Big moment there for Charlie. Unfortunately, as they're forced off the circuit, there's a lot of battling going on. Everybody's trying to find their way through. The two Racing Bulls are fighting hard. Chocolada's trying to have a go at maybe making a double overtake. Zaplatao just watching this happen ahead of them in a very similar situation. There's almost contact and a front wing loss right there. From Bretta's call, there's further contact, and that will be them making the move. Charlie is zooming their way through, and they get ahead of Zaplatao in a very interesting fashion, but they've got the job done, and that is everybody sort of sorting themselves out. Frantic and Semaxon are following one another very closely at the opening stages of this race, showing very similar pace yesterday, and now showing it once again despite the changing conditions. Verf can't really do too much about it. We're going to put the tyre situation on the screen, but we're not going to see anything other than intermediate tyres for everyone. Whether we'll be going on to slicks or not, I don't quite know. No pun intended. But it looks like it's not raining that much, so slicks could be on the cards very, very soon. We could also see maybe someone making an overtake if they really push hard enough. Charlie has gone for that move on Chocolada, and they're trying to now make it maybe a P7 as they follow on to try and catch up to their fellow higher tier drivers. So Maxon gets the fastest lap. Not able to fight though.
The question is about cost. Looking at the track limits, he already gained his first track limit warning in that lap. So he has to be careful with it. Having, I think, 2 warnings left, and then already the penalty, which, if it's staying rainy a bit longer, could affect the outcome of the race drastically.
It could do, and also affecting the race. Charlie goes through on the inside of Rare Winter. Rare Winter can't do anything about it. They just have to let it go. They've kept it in a straight line at least, and they are now in P8. Still P6 for the current tier drivers, but they are away from the other cars ahead to try and compete. Maybe they can use Charlie as a little bit of an assist up ahead to fight. We've got Peanuts and Jericho Willis. They change their positions as Peanuts now makes that a P5. Again, high tier driver will not have the same point scoring system as the current tier drivers. They're not that far away from Barracuda, who is very close to the back of Earth, and those guys are not very far away from the top two, who are going to go side by side surely into the first corner. No, they back off again, but they are putting a lot of pressure on one another. Could we see an overtake between these two as we go through to turn 4 on lap 4? Is that going to be the magical combination? They get a good exit, but they're not going to have any energy to try and fight. Still, defensive throw momentarily there for Frantic, but they realise they can go back to the racing line. That's a car off in the background, and Chocolada has to take avoiding action for something, or maybe just a loss of traction there. And that is, once again, the top two incredibly close to one another, and it's super difficult for them to deal with. Just double checking the situation, and we all look good to go in this race. We're all fairly close to one another. Of course, Terence had that issue, but as the pack has spread out, they're now back into this race very much so, and can still score points on this grid. Currently, because of the high tier drivers, everyone, as long as they finish this race, will score 1 point. So that is definitely something to look at, and will give a few people a nice little boost of confidence. Scoring a point will always be useful. Simaxon isn't going to be in a position to overtake, and they don't have too much energy. They are being pushed to the limit here, and we are going to actually quickly head over to Zaplatao, who has got pressure from Brothers Cool and Terrence. They've got a bit of a train going on at the moment, which is super pressurised when you've got a train of 2 cars behind you, because you don't know what's going to happen. If one car makes the overtake, then all of a sudden you could lose 2 positions. No one making moves just yet, but here is our best chance.
Yeah, in the meantime, looking at the ERS every car has, most of them are using it to 30% on the main DRS straight, trying to go for a move on the car ahead, or staying in front of the car who's trying to overtake. And then they are just all regaining the ERS in the middle sector, but you don't really have to use it.
Unfortunately, Terrence has had an issue, so they're going to be back out of this battle, 4 seconds behind. They've got to try and find a rhythm, see if they can catch back up. Only currently looking at getting 1 point, with that 10th place being promoted by 2. Brothers Korn and Zaplatau will follow each other and continue with this battle. Zaplatau all over the curb on the exit. Nice car control to keep it in a straight line. Simaxon has managed to stabilise that gap, and the top 2 continue to break away from Verf and Barry Kruger. Those guys are also a little bit split up from one another. They have got pressure, does the Red Bull, from Peanuts and Jericho Willis, who have pushed nicely to catch up, and they've also brought Charlie into the battle as well. That is going to be the overtake attempt there for Simaxon. Frantic manages to defend nicely. They've got the outside line, they had the traction, but he's keeping him very honest, is Simaxon. I think he's probably trying to force him into a bit of a mistake. Maybe Frantic could get a warning, and that would make it so much easier. But we do have a dry circuit, it looks like. Whether we'll be pitting soon or not, I don't quite know. But these guys who raced yesterday might be a little bit scared to pit too early on with the bug that they experienced yesterday with that wet condition bug. But I think it's probably fixed. It's very unlucky if we were to have it 2 times in a row around this circuit. Frantic could be making that call to go into the pit lane now.
Yeah, I reckon that both of the drivers are just waiting till it's really hard to drive. The tires are getting really hot. Oh no, they're going in.
They are going in. That is going to be almost contact, as they both just about make it without speeding in the pit lane. We're going to see Barry, Peanuts, Jericho Willis all stay out. It's Charlie into the pit lane as well. There's a little bit of contact as Peanuts slightly taps the rear of Barry. These guys continue. Of course, Barry had to continue because of the pit lane would be blocked by their teammate being so close. He's to go defensive is Barry. Peanuts is going to have the inside line, and they might be able to push on quite nicely. A big slide with these overheating intermediate tyres. It's just not going to work out too well. And as these guys leave the pit lane, they are going to be nicely in a good position. Zaplatau, the last car to not pit. They are 4 seconds behind. Watch that gap change and see if they can catch up.
Yeah, also Charlie switching on to the soft tire, trying to get the tires working as fast as he can get, with it also taking just slower temperatures to get the tires working. Now the DRS is activated, so probably the right call from all the guys switching on to the slick tire now, as it looks like it's being a bit easier to tell the weather compared to yesterday.
Indeed, that is a first time penalty. I say that, it's actually a second time penalty, but it is Simaxon getting a 3-second very early on into this Grand Prix, which allows Frantic to relax a lot. That is exactly what Simaxon didn't want to happen as he was trying to fight earlier on. As we watch on board with the top 3 at the moment, that is Peanuts, but it's going to immediately change as these guys will get a severe overcut along. I say that actually, they were behind already. They've managed to kind of jump Verf almost. No, they yes, they side by side almost. They are going to be in a very difficult position. Verf goes back ahead. That was a very, very nice overcut right there. Peanuts tries to stay alongside, and they're going to get it on exit. Peanuts is again on the intermediate tyre. They forgot to change the tyre compound, and unfortunately are going to have to make another pit stop. They are really pushing, trying to get everything they can out of this one lap on the intermediate intermediate tyre. That is a very good effort to do what they're doing right now. Usually an Inter can be very quick for about half a lap, but they're going to struggle as they get to the traction zones at the end of this lap. That is incredibly frustrating right there for them. Also frustrating, Sir Maxon has lost the DRS range to Frantic.
Yeah, with Peanuts, it's just really easy to forget to switch it to the slick tire, expecting you just pit on the right side on the right and getting put on the slick tire immediately. So yeah, just really unlucky for him. In the meantime, Charlie now really close to Simaxon, closing the gap he had at the beginning. And it seems like he gained 6 or 7 seconds of the whole race. So he looks really fast and probably wants to get the victory over the others on track.
You can, and we'll see how it goes. That's Terence to the inside line of Zaplatow, and they've made a very nice move on the hard tyres. Both drivers on very similar age as well. Terence gets ahead and is trying to make some progress. His former teammate and his current teammate for today's race is just up ahead of him, but they're not going to be in a position to make an overtake this time around. Frantic leads the way. Then we have got Sir Maxon, who's got a lot of pressure from Charlie behind. Charlie's trying to push his fellow countrymen into making progress ahead, but they don't have too much energy. It looks like, actually, they're just saving a little bit, it seems like. So maybe Sir Maxon is actually slightly relaxing a little bit too much, but they've actually just got the DRS from their rival. However, Charlie is probably going to be making that overtake anyway. Further behind, the gaps have split up, so it does make it very, very interesting for how everything is going to go behind there. But these top three are incredibly close, and I think they're probably going to continue to do so. Charlie makes a bit of a mistake. It might mean that they might not be able to make that move, but they have to, because they're on this very soft tyre. They have to use everything they possibly can, and they do so. Taking the racing line, using all of their battery as well. They'll be looking to secure that fastest lap quite comfortably here.
Yeah, looking with the tires, Maxon making it on the medium yesterday was around the same tire age, or up at the pitted, and saying it was quite alright with the tire wear. So I assume they will get it to the end. Probably all the other cars on the hard as well. The 4 guys on medium might struggle to the end, but should be fine as well. And then there's Charlie, who just has to push as much as he can to create the gap, and in the end making or driving faster than a whole pit, like a whole tire change.
Indeed, that's Charlie getting the fastest lap, as Frantic wasn't that far away, catching a lot on the straight. They're going to catch again a lot on the straight. We're going to go to this battle quickly because I don't think we're going to see a change in position. I will just quickly double check it. No, we're not going to see a change in position with the top 3. We could see a change in position with Barry. They're not going to push for an overtake, but they have closed up a lot to Verf, whether that be Verf losing time to the cars ahead or losing time on track, or if it is Barry who has managed to improve. I think it's a mix of both, because that gap is a lot bigger than I expected with Verf, but also Barry is on that medium tyre, so it is expected to try and catch up. Tom, just want to ask, do you think that medium can make it to the end?
Yeah, as I just said, it's going to be really, really hard for the medium drivers. I think Maxon had around 70% yesterday, but he's one of the better drivers to take care of his tire. So all the others, as long as they don't make a lot of mistakes, probably going to be around 80%, maybe even 85%, and it's going really close in terms of puncture. They could get it all, could all get through, but it's going to be really, really hard for them. Especially with the hard drivers making it to the end.
A brilliant overtake there for Barry, as Verf is going to probably try and come back at them. Nope, they're not going to have the ability to do so, as Barry got a pretty decent run into the first corner, manages to outbrake his rival for today's race. I do apologise for the quite lack of commentary there, just slightly distracted by a very small issue. But we're all good to go now. Charlie leads the way. That tyre isn't going to be much faster for longer, and that hard tyre is able to hold on quite nicely. So they're doing a pretty good job. It's frantic so far, but it is only going to get easier from this point onwards. We'll see how it goes. Zapletel continuing to put the pressure on Terence. We've also got a close battle with Rare Winter and Chocolada. They're going to be trying to sort their positions out. Of course, there is a time penalty to Rare Winter, but they're on very similar tyres. Rare Winter makes a big mistake, though. Chocolada will immediately get through. Will DRS go to the German driver, or will it go to Rare Winter? I'm not entirely sure. DRS is available back to the racing ball, and they immediately make that move again. That is very unlucky there for Chocolada. Back with the top two. They're going to switch positions, as Charlie's just going to have to let that one go now. And there's nothing they can do about it. Frantic made a very good call. Maybe Frantic can start pushing if that Mercedes can't keep up the pace of the hard tyre, who has slid through the corner. Frantic has still also slid. So both drivers just losing out, and Sir Maxon will be able to hold on quite nicely.
At the circuit after around 8-9 laps, while the hard tires seemingly never really drop off, especially or can do 20 laps with around the same pace. So it's just gonna be really hard for Charlie to stay in the fight for getting the win today.
Almost contact between the top three. It looked like it was super close. So Maxon knew what they needed to do. They needed to be decisive. They needed to try and stick with Frantic. They're going to go side by side, continuing to put the pressure on. They don't want to make the move. They've ended up actually losing out to Charlie, who's got the inside line. They went so far to the inside that they rode the curb, ended up losing the car. They're still within a decent range to the cars ahead, but they probably didn't want to do that, considering their strategy. So that was an interesting one there, but Samaxol did exactly what they needed to do. They're very lucky to keep that position, however, I should say. But yeah, that's not what Frantic wanted to happen. They wanted to try and have a car in between them, so when Charlie's tyres did die off, then maybe it would have been an opportunity to break away from DRS. Charlie is just going to try and hold on to DRS range for as long as they can to minimise this soft tyre damage. Whether they go into the pit lane within the next few laps, I don't quite know, but we will find out for sure very, very soon. They stay out for now. Samaxon is having a quick look to spot their breaking point, but they're not on their way to try and make an overtake anytime soon on the Frantic right there. Purple lap there for the hard tyre now on lap 15. So that's an interesting one there. Very good from Verth, who doesn't actually have DRS from Barry, so they've managed to catch up nicely to that Red Bull. That's an interesting one. Hard tyre now faster. Peanuts goes and gets that immediately. Chocolada unfortunately gets a time penalty as well.
Yeah, with the time penalties, you're thinking that it's somewhat hard to get time penalty with the amount of grass, but there are some turns, especially turn 2 and the exit of turn 4, who you can get really easy. Track limit warnings with cutting the inside or just slightly mistaking the braking point into turn 4 and then just going a bit too wide. So it's actually quite easy to get track limit warnings around the circuit. And some drivers looking like they're really good at staying out of it.
Indeed. Samatson goes to the inside line and they look to make that move ahead of Frantic. DRS will be immediately available again for Frantic, but they're going to try and stay ahead. Frantic's going to use the energy, looking to use resource, but no. Samatson is defending. They're not quite alongside. They back off if they're not going to be in a confident position to make that move on lap 16 out of 36. They're not going to try and make an overtake on their championship rival. It would be very silly to do so, wouldn't it? So they're going to back off. They're just going to let things go. They're going to think of the long game. In the meantime, Charlie is still keeping with these guys, but but they're not going to be in a position to fight unless there's a big mistake. So Matson leads for the first time in a while, as Frantic wanted to try and get back ahead, but they weren't able to do so, so they're going to have to sit behind. I don't know how they're feeling right now. I wonder if Frantic is confident that they can lead for longer, as they've had the upper hand so far, or if they're maybe worrying about Sir Maxon. But it is a very competitive circuit with the DRS zones placed as they are, and it being a short circuit, so overtaking is quite possible around many parts of the track. So Frantic will have plenty of opportunities to get back ahead. I am sure of that. We're going to see Rare Winter and Chocolada maybe look for a bit of a battle, as they're using the energy, they're using the DRS, they've got the momentum, and the Alpine's just going to have to see that one go. Unfortunately, DRS will be available. The Alpine is preparing a very nice exit, and ERS, will they use it? I don't know if they're really thinking that they need to. They are so close. They are moving to the outside line, now to the inside, but they're not going to send it. That is just going to be how it goes for them. Will we see a move, though, from Zaplotal and Terence? No overtake attempt from them in the end. They will just let things go and let it be, as Terence still went slightly defensive, although Zaplotal didn't want to go for the move, it seemed like. They just back off for now. The top three continue. So Matson, will they try and get ahead again?
Yeah, I think the best call for him is maybe involving Frantic in a bit of a fight, and then hoping that Charlie can get through, so he has a chance to get the 3-second gap he needs with his time penalty. On anything else, I don't think he has a chance as long to win the race as long as Frantic doesn't make a mistake, because they're just equally fast, and with the time penalties, it's really hard to win a race, especially compared to yesterday. We saw really good drivers being up top and then just losing out by a bit with the time penalties.
Unfortunately, Terence, sorry to switch scenes, but Terence has made contact, it seems like, with Zaplotal. They went into the first corner. It is going to mean that that battle is probably going to be over. Terence is going to be incredibly frustrated with that one right there. Damage to their car. It's going to be damage to their race. And, of course, as I said, as long as everyone finishes this race, if you're a current tier driver, you will score a point. But, yeah, they're not going to be happy with that one at all, because they were having the ability to fight for a little bit more. So Maxon, in the meantime, has just gone fastest as they lead the way. 2/10, however, still Frantic is really maintaining that pressure very, very nicely. They don't need to worry about it too much. Those time penalties will come into play quite nicely later on. You never know, it could change. Maybe someone would try and appeal a penalty, appeal a warning that was given, so they try and get a time penalty removed. Maybe it was possible that they got unfair penalty if they were to be pushed off or it was to be a bug. But I'm going to be honest, around Sao Paulo, you're probably going to have a difficult time getting something removed. I think Sir Maxon is going to have a lot of work to do. So they're going to have to hope that Frantic makes a mistake. We're on lap 19 of 36. We've got a long way to go, and it's very, very possible. I'm not hoping for that for Frantic. For their sake, I want them to do well! And commentator's curse! Oh, no, no, no! The final major corner. They lock up on the grass, and Frantic is down to P3 by 4.8 seconds. What a shame. I don't know what to say. Charlie takes the opportunity to dive into the pit lane. Frantic doesn't have a damaged car, but they're going to have a little bit of a scare. They're gonna be frustrated. They've got to try and shake it off and see if they can catch back up. 5.8 seconds, Sir Maxon with only 3 seconds, and now it is a 6-second gap. That was absolutely devastating, and it changes this race completely.
Yeah, definitely. Frantic looked so strong. Then making that small mistake and touching the bit of grass at the entry of the turn. I don't know why, but especially in Brazil, it's really easy to spin after slightly touching the grass. Like every time you touch it, it's a nearly guaranteed spin. So really unfortunate for him. But in the end, it was a mistake by him, and now he has to recover and getting at least 3 seconds compared to Semaxon in the last around 16 laps now.
In the meantime, he has managed to catch up 2 tenths again, so they've tried to find a bit of pace. We knew they were quick. They were very quick in time trial. They were very quick yesterday. They just had a bit of a difficult time in the race. So now, if they can focus, they will have the ability to catch back up. And ultimately, they have plenty of time to do such a thing as well. In the meantime, Jakob Zaplatau and Terence, they have been fighting fairly hard as they went through the complex of the first few corners and into turn 4, switching positions very often. Terence, now not within DRS range, I think is going to lose out to that one, and they decide to make it a pit stop, and they'll get a new front wing on that car. Very frustrating, but it is what it is. In the meantime, Red Winters actually made it to the pit lane, so I'm not entirely sure what happened there. I don't quite know if there was an incident or not, but they'll get ahead of Terence. They'll be on that fresh tyre. Terence goes on to the fresh medium tyre and is going to be very quick to the end of this race. Now, we do have Charlie also on a very fresh medium tyre, currently sitting P6, trying to use a bit of pace in that car. Jericho Willis 1.5 seconds ahead for now, but that is a purple middle sector. Charlie looking at getting a fastest lap on this lap. In the meantime as well, I've said in the meantime so many times, I'll try and stop saying that one there. We see Frantic losing time. We see Verf and Barry making moves. We're going to go with the P3 and P4 battle as Charlie does inevitably get that fastest lap. DRS is available for the Red Bull, and they look to go for the move into turn 4, but they don't actually get it done in the end. They don't have the ability with the straight line speed or the energy in that car. Charlie catches up a little bit more, and they should be able to make this overtake on lap 23 if you consider the tyre situation. Also for the tyre situation, the mediums are pretty difficult to deal with. Of course, we saw Semaxon yesterday going all the way to the end of the Grand Prix on a set of very, very old mediums. So it is a circuit that has the potential for a very crazy strategy. We'll see how that one goes, as that's Charlie looking to make the move around the outside. Absolutely incredible. They've done that very, very nicely. Turn 12, making that move. Phenomenal stuff right there from Charlie. DRS will be available from Verco Willis. They'll be able to catch up a little bit and be nice and close to the Mercedes as they head to turn 1. They're not using the energy though. They're not willing to make that move. They're just going to sit behind the higher tier driver. Maybe see if they can use the DRS to hold on, but with the tyre difference, it's going to be so difficult to actually do anything about that. So I think we'll just have to let that be for now. DRS will be available. They'll catch back up nicely. Will they be able to hold on to the DRS range? We'll see how that goes. DRS range for Barry. They're not able to make a move just yet, but they continue to lose time just frantic. 6.3 seconds, 6.4 seconds. It's going up and down, so it's not all over just yet, but it's looking very hard.
Taking a look again onto the track limit situation, Semaxon not getting another warning after his penalty. Frantic currently on his first track limit warning, while Riff having none so far. Barry again on 2 track limit warnings, and Charlie again on 1. So it's looking like most of them have a chance to have a clean race in terms of time penalties, at least in the top 5, top 6, with Semaxon maybe having the chance to get his penalty removed if one of these track limits is illegitimate.
For sure. Now, we'll see how it goes. That is a time penalty there for Charlie, as we were just talking about time penalties, so they're going to be frustrated with that one, but it is what it is. They're trying to catch up to the cars ahead. Of course, medium tyre runner of Barry and the hard tyre runner of Verf. It should be pretty straightforward to do so. They're going to be looking to get to that P3 spot. To get to P2 and P1, I don't think that's going to be as possible, unfortunately, with the strategy that they're on. Barry's going to maybe have to consider pitting for a set of soft tyres towards the end of this race. If they do so, they would be coming out around about P8, shall I say? Maybe if they're lucky, P7. They're going to be very quick, but would they be able to get back into a position to fight for the podium positions for the current tier drivers? I don't quite think so. It will be a very tough act.
Yeah, Charlie also now gaining over second in the middle sector to both cars in front of him. So he's looking really, really strong, really pacey. Now with the time penalty, it's gonna be a bit harder to get the podium on track. But as he's driving currently, he definitely has a shot to get on the podium.
Indeed, he does. He does so, and I think it's going to be pretty. I don't want to say straightforward because it won't be straightforward, but with the tyre situation, they have every advantage. You do seem to get a bit of a drop off when you hit around about lap 7, and then a severe drop off around lap 12 and 13. It obviously varies between the tracks, but according to the other cars around him, around them, they'll still have quite a decent advantage. So I don't think Charlie's going to be too concerned at this stage how things going to go. That gap has been brought down by Frantic. They've been able to catch up nicely, which is good. They can continue to do so. In the meantime, there's a lot of pressure right here for Barry. Will they try and make the overtake, or are they going to let it go? Charlie's not going to have so much patience when we head to turn 4, though. They're going to be looking to make that move. They ride the grass as they're pushing the limits, but DRS will be available here.
Also, Charlie looking like he might run out, or they might run out of fuel as the lamp is glowing yellow already for them. Already struggling a bit after the rain stopped, so maybe expected it to be longer and put a bit of less fuel in the car, and now seeming to struggle a bit and probably having to lift and coast quite a bit in the next few laps.
They're looking to try and go for the move on the McLaren. The outside line they'll have to choose as a defensive throw is from Verf. Verf still fighting the high tier drivers, giving us a good show, but it is going to be Charlie who gets ahead. Will they go back for the move again on DRS? That is the question. I mean, they'll have a great opportunity to do so. Charlie doesn't have too much battery to really play with, I believe. So, yeah, Verf will have a great opportunity. They are going to go for that move. If they can get themselves ahead of a higher tier driver with, of course, their current tier driver not in a position to fight, then, yeah, that's actually a pretty good opportunity. I mean, Charlie's going to have a great move into turn 4. Despite not having the energy, DRS will be available, but no, the energy is going to be used by Verb. They really want to stay ahead in this race and maybe try and get that position on track. Of course, if Charlie has that time penalty, then actually Verf would be able to possibly get that podium indeed. So, you know what? Why not? Why not fight it? I mean, it's not going to make the race change too much. Of course, if they were to finish P3 or P4 behind Charlie, then they're still going to get that P3 for the current tier drivers. Once again, another outside line for Charlie, but not looking for a move, as Barry just watches this happen up ahead and just saving a little bit of battery, I'd assume. Charlie is saving a bit of battery, preparing to go for that move into the first corner. It's contact, though.
Yeah. Really close fighting between both of them. Verf, looking like they struggle a lot on the old tire. Charlie just with the fresher tire, getting a bit more of exit, and they're just losing to Frantic with this much of fighting, which they might have had a chance to get in front of him, as Frantic is now already on his last track limit warning.
Indeed, they almost went side by side in turn 4, but they just about keep it single file. This is Charlie's time to try and break away, especially on this tyre in the middle sector. After all of that battling, Jericho Willis has managed to bring that gap down significantly and might be able to maybe have a chance at being within time penalty range by the end of this race. And if these guys make a mistake, then Jericho Willis will be able to score some decent points. Of course, if they want to fight for the championship, they do need to be ahead of Frantic or Simaxon. But still, they have a great opportunity to do something pretty nice here if they can be within that time penalty range. Charlie has broken away from DRS range and now will try and make a hunt for Frantic in these closing stages of the Grand Prix. Verf will not be able to do anything about it. Barry Kruger will now have another look at maybe making a move in a couple of laps' time. Whether they'll want to wait until the very end, though, that's probably a better shout. ERS is going to have to be saved, and they're going to have to prepare for those final laps because their tyres are going to be struggling. I think we saw almost 70% tyre wear from Senna yesterday. They did still say that they would have preferred to be on the hards, but they chose that medium tyre. So they can go to the end, can Barry. It's just not going to be so straightforward. Brett is cool in the same situation too. And further down the order, Terence, of course, on that fresh medium tyre, looking to get a fast lap if they can. As they're going across the line, looking at their lap times. 1 second off their previous delta, 9.5 tenths almost. Would they try and go for another pit stop to secure a fastest lap? We will find out. Currently goes to Charlie with a 9.386. Of course, Charlie being a high tier driver. That fastest lap point, I believe, would still... Oh no, it would go to Chocolada actually with a 9.815. So currently Chocolada has that for the current tier drivers and would take that despite Charlie having, of course, the overall fastest lap in the race. Once again, Senna is ahead by quite a nice margin. Frantic, 6.6 seconds, maintaining the gap, but that's not what they need if they want to try and take victory here. That gap is going to be closed down by 4 points in the championship if it stays as it is.
Charlie currently flying, especially through the middle sector, gaining a lot of time. Too frantic, looking like he wants at least a fight on the last lap. But looking again on his fuel level, if I can see it correct, he is 0.2 in the negatives. So it would be a really huge time loss, especially going up that hill in the last lap. So he should be more focusing on his fuel level than trying to close the gap.
For sure. That would be pretty devastating if you're looking to try and make that move at the very end and all of a sudden the car just bogs down. But it is what it is. It's a very thirsty circuit, I think Brazil is. Maybe they were hoping that the wet conditions would save a little bit more fuel. That is easy to make that mistake, of course. We'll see how that goes, but currently the closest cars on track are Verth and Barry. No overtakes are going to be looking to be done, but as these guys continue, Jericho Willis has caught up nicely and might, by the end of this Grand Prix, even be in a position to try and fight with these two, and they are all on no time penalties, so it would all be for track glory and points glory as well. Verth, a reserve driver, but still competing quite competitively, quite a lot, quite often. And they are a current tier driver, more importantly, so they still have an impact on points here. So Barry does want to try and make this move if they want to take even further gains from the Haas team, who are currently leading the championship. Now, Max on 6.8 seconds. It is a pretty decent gap. Charlie's been able to do quite nicely. That is going to be Rare Winter, unfortunately, down the order. No damage to the car, but they do lose out there to Zaplatau into P11. They will go, they'll still finish currently P9 in the order. So it's not all over, and they are close to the back of that Ferrari at the moment. So actually, they've got a lot to play for still. They can get some good points for the team. Double points will be available as long as these cars finish this race for the Racing Bull team. DRS will be available there for Rare Winter, and they'll be able to catch up nicely and maybe look at making that move sooner rather than later. In the meantime, Simaxon has made that a 7-second gap as he continues to push. With a lot of experience up front yesterday, they are very comfortable, it seems, and I hope they don't get, for their sake, another time penalty. It would make it very interesting if they did. It's going to be Rare Winter staying behind Zaplatau. They weren't opting to make that move. I think maybe they're looking for the longer game to try and have a go on the final laps, possibly. Not making a move. They're not going to be able to pressure as they make a slight mistake through turns 7 and 8. They just have to sit back and watch at the moment. 12 lap old hard tyres versus 24 lap old hard tyres. They then go for that overtake. Zaplatao not going to be able to do anything about it. Frantic gets a time penalty. This battle continues as Zaplatao will be on the outside line as they're just going to make it through the corner, maybe with a little bit of a lift. It is going to be Rare Winter ahead. DRS will be available and it is going to be used by the Ferrari car. The Ferrari is going to have a go, possibly, at making that move into the first corner. Surely their tyres will not allow them to fight if they try and outbrake them into the first corner. Defensive throw there from the Racing Bull, and they will have a go, but they've gone onto the grass, and unfortunately the Ferrari is round. They're going to be so frustrated, and Terence is going to go through. They do not believe their luck, and they've retired from the race. They will not score any points after all of that. What a shame there for Zaplatao. They've had a very tough race. It's not going to be a safety car. It's going to be lap 34 to 36, and we are almost done. Samaxon has driven a brilliant race today. Frantic as well, a brilliant race, except from one slight moment which just made it incredibly difficult. In the meantime, Charlie has caught up massively. 14 lap old medium tyres, and they're going to have DRS ready for the final laps of this race.
Yeah, but with the fuel situation of Charlie, Frantic will stay in front of him, as Charlie is still losing out on fuel, already nearly plus 0.1 again down compared to the last time I checked. So you might have to be careful with Worth and Barry for him to getting the podium position in the race. Because it's looking really drastic for him.
Indeed, it is. Alright, we'll see how it goes. We've only got a couple more laps, 2 laps remaining of this Grand Prix. Samaxon leads the way, but it is Frantic and Charlie which will be the first battle, followed by Verth and Barry, and those guys will be racing as current tier drivers. Frantic doesn't need to worry about being overtaken by Charlie, because Charlie is that higher tier driver. I will repeat once again, but it is Jericho Willis who is back in this battle, not going for the overtake, but they force the Red Bull to go side by side. Barry doesn't want to try and make that overtake, it seems like, just yet on the McLaren, but they have to do something because the Williams is putting that pressure on, and it is a lot of pressure. The outside line will become available as if a door was opened, and that is going to be the Williams through. Off goes the McLaren. The Williams had a run, but they're going to back off surely. It's almost the final lap of the Grand Prix, and Jericho Willis, out of everything that's happened today, from 6th place might be able to finish 4th, and that would be, for the current tier drivers, the podium. But no, contact is made, and they're going to lose momentum. The Red Bull is very, very slidey, trying to have a go on those old tyres. Nothing they can do. Samaxon leads the final lap of the Grand Prix. We've got Frantic coming across the line. Charlie, 8 tenths behind. I don't know if anything's going to happen here. It might not work out, but we continue with this battle. Here for P3 for the current tier drivers, Verth, Jericho Willis and Barry Kruger. Barry's a little bit too far back. Jericho Willis will not make that move into the first corner, but they do send it on the brakes. They do send it on the brakes. DRS will be available. DRS for Verth. This could be everything right here. ERS is here. DRS is here, but they're saving the battery, and now they're going to go for the move again, using all of the energy into that 4th corner, saving the battery with Jericho Willis. Now both cars have basically nothing left, as they will go up to the line to decide who's going to get ahead. Just maybe would Barry have saved enough battery to get both of the cars as they will cross the line. I don't quite know. We have to watch on with this guy who has driven absolutely awesomely. Samaxon is going to win the Brazilian Grand Prix, takes another one in the championship, and will catch up to Frantic. Here comes Charlie looking to make the move. ERS, DRS, it's not going to be possible as they run out of fuel across the line. Verth and Jericho Willis, though, this is it. This is the battle we've been waiting for. Jericho Willis is so close to the back of the McLaren. Are they going to have it, though? Across the line, they pull to the right-hand side. They don't even get there, and it is going to be Verth taking the podium. After all of that, they gave it a brilliant shot. Barry Kruger right there at P6. Peanuts crosses the line. Then we'll have Chocolada, who will be part passed by Breda's Call on time penalties, and that will be how it goes. And I think Terence is actually going to get a position here on Rare Winter as well. That was an absolutely incredible race. A very good effort from many of the drivers. A brilliant effort from Barry Kruger to stay in this race with that tyre situation. Look at those tyres. They are absolutely finished, but we have to watch on as we cross the line with Terence. But this is the man to watch. Simaxon has taken an awesome win. They got some good practice in yesterday. They managed to show their pace. We got the preview, and now we got the delivery. That was absolutely perfect. Except from one time penalty, they did everything that they needed to do. Charlie, the driver of the day, the higher tier driver, making their way up the order. Simaxon takes the win, Frantic in P2, then Charlie with the fastest lap in P3. We've got Verf, Jerko Willis, Barry Kruger, Peanuts, Breda's Cool, Chocolada, Rare Winter, Terence, and Jakob Zaplatau, who I believe will be classed as finished in this race and still score 1 point to their championship. That's the race director, just in case it might be needed around a circuit like this. The pit stop section will also be on your screen. Thank you very much. We will see you next time in Mexico.